Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. It is the 25th. We got Thanksgiving coming up. I'm feeling a lot better. Do I sound better? They took those stints out of my nose, and that makes such a big difference. I think I'm still going to need to rest. There's still a lot of inflammation up in here. I can feel it on the roof of my mouth, but you know, I did my regular routine today, and I'm feeling okay. We're going to go for this. There seems to be something going on here in the market just recently. I mean, overnight, not too big. Well, let's just go and look at the charts really quick, but we're going to have to run through this quickly. We've got, they had a continuation of yesterday's move overnight, and this thing really ran yesterday. I mean, look at that. Not above 36.70 or anything, but pretty high. Treasury's actually not coming back down. Oil going well. I would expect a lot of these commodities to be doing well. Gold still just down it, man. It's so ugly for gold. Unfortunate for gold. Copper doing okay. Okay. Oh, and Bitcoin. We should check on Bitcoin. Bitcoin seeing a decline to 1900 or so and then bumping back up. So somebody sold it and they saved it. So I'm seeing here. Okay, so now we got some news coming in. We got the jobless claims and everything. So let's see how they react here. A little behind today. So, okay, so there was a good little spike there off of that in the S&P 500. Liquidity providers didn't hold it at all. Okay, so about in line, 748 versus the previous 742. That's the 4 weeks claim. 1.3 for durable goods versus a forecast of spot 9. That's good, I guess. Why is the jobs number not coming? And do we not get a month-over-month jobless claims? Oh, 778 higher than 730. We're still waiting on the PCE and GDP numbers. Overall, I'd say it's good, but it's a little mixed. GDP second revision, 33.1 versus an expected 33.1, so in line. Okay. So interesting that the book is still really light over in the E-mini. I mean, I'm favoring a long here, but Michael Barnier has told David Frost he sees no need to travel to London at the weekend for more probably pointless talks unless there's a move-in on the 3 key sticking points. Is that why we saw that decline a little earlier? I also see a headline about an oil tanker being attacked. Let me come back and read that before all this news. Oil tanker said to be attacked while at berth in Saudi Arabian Red Sea. Oil tanker Agrari hit 1 meter above the waterline. Who would do that? Iran would do that, I think. Oh, something's wrong here. Maybe my text-to-speech not going to work today because I never closed it. Oh dear. It says, "Are you live?" Well, that's curious. Last time that happened, we had been, yeah. That's weird. I'm gonna have to go look at that. I don't know. It might just be that we left it on. There's still some numbers that haven't come through here. I'm just going to have to do that. Move you guys down here so we can still see Twitter. So the issue I've got here, we got all this news. It looks like positive and they're going to spike up. Yesterday was a pretty good day. They've retraced some of that overnight. You're likely to be seeing some end-of-month rebalancing behavior here because Monday is really the last day of the month. So you're going to see some rebalancing today. All of the reports are that there is a record amount of equities that have to be sold, but last time we were told that we did not get a sell. So I don't know about that one. And then we've got some news coming out that clearly pushed the indexes down. I guess when things are uncertain, that's a great time to make a bet, but Jay Constant, when will Tether be brought to justice? Tether printing millions, manipulating Bitcoins. Tether Mafia printed another 200 million yesterday. How can they allow that? Well, so the first thing is that I think that what Tether is doing is not necessarily just printing a bunch of coins to pump it up, but that large traders are coming to them and saying, I want to get into the Bitcoin market. And they're giving Tether like $1 million. And then Tether is printing $2 million. You get what I mean? And giving them a loan of $2 million based off of collateral or something like that. So they're basically involved in central banking, which is a problem. But when will this scheme be exposed? I don't know when the next court date battle is, but I don't think it's anytime soon. Bitcoin is probably going to collapse on its own before that thing gets exposed. It would be my guess. Jim Delton says short-term trading is about to change. He thinks it's going to reverse, I think is what he thinks. Okay, well, liquidity's a little better over here. They're holding 30s now instead of 18s at some prices. We did have a pullback here, so it's in a more acceptable place to have bought it at 36.30. You know very much. You know that the best place to follow that kind of stuff is Bitfinex on Twitter. He is the one that is the most anti-exchange, Tether, sharing all of the info stuff. And when the things are about to drop, he knows. Like he's the one that gets the inside information on this stuff. So that's where I would look. Really, I think if you're involved in the cryptocurrency space, you want to be following the big anti-Bitcoin hubs. So Bitfinex is one of them. It's Bitfinex ED. It's like Bitfinex with an ED on the end of it. Bitfinex. And then there's a subreddit that's anti-Bitcoin called Buttcoin. BUTT coin, and they'll kind of post all of the negative stories that you don't hear elsewhere. And then, I think that r/BTC is a good one to follow. They aren't anti-Bitcoin, but they are anti-Bitcoin Core, and that they post a lot of interesting information, particularly about tethers. You kind of got to follow the whole sphere, the whole Ethereum thing. There's a lot going on in Ethereum, so you'd want to follow those, of course. I think that a lot of this my nose is I got in the shower and it got all moist and it's kind of trying to flush itself now. I can breathe really well though. Anyways, I think that a lot of this rise is probably related to Ethereum. So I'm really interested to see how the movement in the tape in Bitcoin changes after Ethereum 2.0 launches. I would expect to see some sort of short-term boost like on that day, and then kind of like with the halvening, it ends up being like a big nothing burger. It's kind of what I'm looking for. Okay, we did get the PCE prices, and those are all in line. Treasuries, slow march up. Not on a lot of volume most of that move. I don't know what Jay Constant is saying by why is it always America first? I don't know. I think that he's talking about something else, Uzi, because it's been America last for too long. Well, I tell you what, man, you've seen... Oh, man, reading all of this stuff about the national security team that Joe Biden is basically putting in place. I mean, it is neocon heaven. It's like... all of those guys that were involved in every military excursion of the last 30 years that the public is upset about, they put them in charge. Trump always shouts America first. Did he tweet that? Oh, I don't see anything. Last thing I saw, he was still complaining about the election results. It's kind of interesting the way this is turning out, because I'm seeing a lot of court cases that look interesting, even though I don't think anything necessarily come from them. But when I say interesting, I mean like things that could certainly pop up over and over again in the news headlines for months to come. But they're all happening long after it matters. The Sidney Powell thing being a really good example. I'm not so sure that she really has anything now. Like, I think this would have gone a lot faster if she did, but I don't think that it's just going to go away either. So, but it's coming out after the states have certified. So I think you get this kind of situation pretty similar to what it was like with the Russia investigation, where every couple of weeks, bombshell headline about election fraud comes out, undermines the president, and they're all like, this is undermining the president, and everybody's like, we don't care, it's true information. Everything is extremely overvalued. Dow now another all-time high. Ooh, let's see here. By the way, I'm sorry, the Texas speech isn't working today. I don't know what the deal is. I think I left it on overnight, and that's why it's doing this. Sidney Powell sounds like she's rambling off conspiracy theories. The lawsuits targeting constitutionality, equal protection, and ballot verification type stuff make more sense. Yeah, well, I think that the one that could go to the Supreme Court arguing that all of those mail-in ballots in Pennsylvania are, don't count or shouldn't count. I think that one is the best court case for sure. There's another lawsuit that was submitted yesterday claiming 150,000 ballots could potentially be fraudulent. I don't know how they determined that, but that one seems good. There was that one in Nevada. I don't know what happened with the one in Nevada where they had pointed out all of these people were not legal residents. You would think that something would come of that. I don't know if all of that overturns the election result or not, though. But not the point that we're discussing here, really, are we? Yeah, the way that Sidney Powell is going, it really does sound like a conspiracy theory. And it's really interesting that the Donald Trump team has kind of abandoned her. I don't know. I don't think that Sidney Powell is a crazy head or anything. So, who knows what's going through her head. I should not restream it back to myself here. I don't know. She does seem kind of crazy, doesn't she? Biden scoring 10 million more votes than the first black president from his basement in the popular vote is extraordinarily odd. It all is what it is, but it still smells. Well, I don't know. So here's one of the problems that I have with a lot of the statistical kind of analysis of the election. First of all, any kind of a statistical analysis doesn't prove fraud. It could give you a good reason to go and audit things, but it doesn't prove fraud. But more so, there is something unique about this election that would make you expect that you would see numbers be a lot higher. And that is that pretty much everywhere you are allowed to vote by mail, including in some of these big swing states. And it looks like that people did it in droves. I'm a bit nervous because the moment I sold my Bitcoin, I see a different YouTuber say Bitcoin is going to 100K within months. That's so, I know. Well, listen, if it goes, it goes. Here's the thing you got to remember is that we can't predict everything. We can make informed decisions, and we can follow a strategy. And sometimes things will go much further than they have any reason doing so, because people are irrational. And if it goes further with the Bitcoin, I say let it. I never bought into it this round because it never went to an acceptable place. Breaking: Israeli military prepares for a possible strike on Iran by the U.S. as officials anticipate a very sensitive period until January 20th. Well, that's from I think that's probably a nonsense headline. I would ignore that one. It's the down ballot stuff that makes it the most odd. Republicans slayed into legislator, but Biden dominated the presidency. If people were that motivated for Democrats, one would think it would have showed down ballot. Well, I don't think that they are. I really don't think that they are motivated for Democrats. It's so interesting thought on that one. There was a good story in Politico today. And their argument was that it wasn't that Democrats, that everybody ideologically rejected Democrats, but that Democrats had a bad strategy. And because of bad polling and other things, they didn't put effort into the races that they needed to, and that they misallocated resources. It's a good argument. It is a really good argument, because it did happen. We all know it happened. They spent so much money on these races in like Texas and stuff that really were never in their reach, right? And then there was these small races that were in competitive areas that they thought were kind of in the bag and didn't spend money on. So it's a good argument. But I don't think that people are really all that enthusiastic about the Democrats right now. And I think it's only going to get worse in the midterms, right? Like this doubling down on the foreign policy of the Bush years. It's not going to be a popular thing, I don't think. You know what I mean? So would it show down ballot? I'm not so sure. I mean, I do think it's kind of weird that people wouldn't vote the whole ballot, and that there would be so many that didn't do it, only voted for president. But at the same time, I do think that there was a very large contingent of people that just wanted Donald Trump out. That is so clear. I mean, and this goes to the whole should Donald Trump run in 2024 thing, right? I don't think he should. I think that him running again, I think that the way that we have it right now is really the best outcome for what I'm going to call the MAGA movement. Although I don't think that I think that they've made America great. I think that it's more, I think it should be called the America First movement, because I think that is the true unifying principle ideologically for them. So that's what I'm going to call it, the America First movement. I think that what is happening right now is actually, believe it or not, the ideal circumstance for the America First movement, because you need to have America First without Donald Trump. You have to realize that Donald Trump is so divisive. You're never going to get more than 51% of the American public on your side, as long as it's closely related to Donald Trump. But if you are able to separate yourselves from Donald Trump, but keep the ideology, that's when you could see mass support, and especially in the places where it counts, like those swing states, right? Who has time to research everything on the ballot and make an informed decision, right? This is the thing that I always complain about with caucuses, because, I mean, for your state senators and stuff, I really think you should know what's going on there. But it's probably going to be pretty partisan anyways. So I'm surprised that if people wouldn't vote for their senator or representative, that would be one thing. But then, like, your state representatives, that's the one where, and especially in primaries, like, they have no clue. People have no clue what is going on in primaries. And you know what happens because of that? It's the guy with the most money always wins. It's the guy that with the most money always wins. And there's been this big effort countrywide to get rid of caucuses, for instance, so that, like in Utah was, you should be able to collect enough signatures, and then it should go to a primary all the time. And when that happens, the rich guy always wins, because he has the media power. And they're doing that on purpose, man. They're doing that on purpose. I'm not going to say if it's good or bad. I don't like it, obviously, but I can't tell you how many times I've gone to at a party level here in Utah of all places. And I personally know both people. They're both Republicans. I know both of them, and the wrong person gets picked. You have this guy that's like super smart, spent his whole life studying this thing. He knows all about municipalities. He's a really smart, really good with money. the exact kind of person that you would want being like your county commissioner or the state representative or whatever it is. And then you've got this other guy that's like, you know, the popular mom over in the big city over here that doesn't really know anything about politics, but she has the connections and she'll win. It happens every effing time. And it's a real problem in our country. And if you want to blame like this whole thing about like, the rich squeezing the middle class, yada, 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 I think that's where you got to start, is because it's a lot of those state level decisions where it's becoming a problem. Good example of housing. These guys that really know what they're doing, they know how to deal with it so that you can have enough housing, but that you don't destroy everybody's home values at the same time, because there's kind of a those of us with houses those of us that own houses kind of have different incentives to all of you that are maybe want to buy a house in the future or are renting right now, right? Because you guys, it would be better for you if housing got cheaper, but for us that already own something, it's better for housing to get more expensive, right? But there are ways to kind of manage that and be fair to everybody. But the rich guy always wins, and so they always just zone it so that you can't build more housing. The first time I voted, the woman sent me back to the booth because I hadn't filled out the ballot completely. I ended up randomly voting. There were laws, reps. It's as dumb as. Well, yeah, I say if you don't know, that you shouldn't fill it out, but that's my opinion. Having a say in laws, representatives, etc. is stupid. We shouldn't get to vote on all that stuff. We just need to have a king who makes decisions for us. Yeah. Anyways, how did I get on all of that? I guess we were just talking about if you don't know. This just goes back to the thing where it's like, if you're going to vote, your obligation is to know what's going on. She told me I had to. I didn't know any better. Oh, that's awful. You could have said, well, I intentionally didn't fill them all out. I don't know. That's kind of lame. I understand why somebody would they would think, oh, you just didn't do it. They don't know any better. They're a first-time voter. They should try and vote for everything. But because these party people, they want you to vote for everything, right? I think that's one of the things that I hope got exposed for everybody with this whole supposed voter fraud fiasco. The people that canvass, that count the votes, and all of these things are not neutral people. They're not neutral people. And if that's something that you're concerned about, you're gonna have to step up. You know, because not everybody can do that. Not everybody can do that. Now that I've had a baby and everything's all set here, next time around, I hope that I get more involved. These past few times, I haven't been as involved as I would like because, you know, pressing family stuff. Anyways. It doesn't surprise me that a lot of people would vote against Donald Trump and not for anybody down ballot. But the ideas promoted by the America First movement are actually quite popular. Now, there's another side to that, and that's this. There is a very concerted effort to control media around these kinds of issues, isn't there? There is and it really does. I always thought this was like conspiracy theory stuff, but when you look at the sources of information, it's very clear that there is a national security establishment that does not believe in America first per se. They think that the best thing for America is to put the needs of other countries first and to get involved all over the place. It seems a lot of the American First people think it begins and ends at Republicans. Yeah, but it doesn't. That's the thing. So there's all these Democrats. I can tell you what. I don't know when it's going to happen, but it's going to happen. Where you're going to see a Democrat Party revolt with inter-party revolt, because these people that are pushing kind of the far left ideology and really the woke left, they are not liberal in the slightest. And everybody that's in the Democrat Party, because they're liberal, at some point is going to realize what's happening and complain. Your nose looks different. Are you close to a fisheye camera? Joke, I didn't see anything different. Oh, you're joking. Oh, okay. Well, I mean, let's look at it. You can see it looks a little... And there it looks a little tilted, but I'm not straight on. I have to move this to be able to see really. There we go. Okay. So it does look a little crooked to me, actually. There's a little bit of inflammation, though, and there's probably more inflammation on this side than there is on this side. So that's probably why you're getting that. Plus, the lighting is a little bit different on each side, so that would make a difference, too. I need to not just think about it, because they're saying, like, oh, don't touch the septum, because that's just moving it around in there, and then it might not necessarily grow back straight. Well, it'll grow back straight, but I guess the cartilage has a little bit of a memory. So the idea is to not touch it. We'll see. I think it looks better today, and it did. It certainly feels better. And am I close? You know what, man? When I'm too close, it's a pretty wide angle. It's set to a pretty wide angle, but when I get too close, it definitely is a thing. Yeah, it doesn't look very good. I have a really hard time making TikToks because I always get the too close. I am addicted to nose spray for 5 years now. Oh, really? Well, they told me that I don't need the nose spray. I probably need to go and do some saline in my nose after this. But I woke up my nose feeling a lot more inflamed than it was. So I don't think I bumped it overnight. I did blow my nose, but I don't think that. I think I was careful with it. It's just inflammation. There was like apparently what they do is they put these stents through your nose, and then they put a stitch through your nose to hold them together. I didn't realize. And so what happened was this side was bleeding the whole time, and even after they took that stitch out. So there's a pretty nasty scab over on the side of the nose. Probably not what you wanted to hear, huh? Well, I tell you what, this market sure went dead after all of that news. I'm looking at it. I'm like, okay, now would be a good time to start thinking about what kind of start of the day trade we might want to take here in the evening. And it's so dead that I have a hard time making a call on it. We could try making a bet on that there will be selling coming in today for end of month stuff, but I think that I'm going to need this is all a situation that says to me you probably don't want to get in it. Now right now it's going to be a really good trade when it breaks out, but you're just going to get chopped around first. But I think today, for the whole nose thing, the thing for now is to just try not to focus on it. So you drive yourself crazy thinking about, oh, is it straight or not straight? And what do I got to do to have my nose? But it doesn't matter. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. It's the thing that I always find so funny about streaming for you guys is that most of the things that I tend to think about and get concerned about, you guys don't care about. Still have a deluge of data coming out and about, oh, you're right, because there's this stuff, there's this PCE and personal income and personal spending. There's a 4-week bill auction, new home sale. That's a lot of data. Michigan 5-year inflation expectations, consumer sentiment. Oh, it's like everything is loaded there. Yeah, we should just stay away from it. Anyways, one of the things that always concerns me, or that I always pay a lot of attention to, is like the lighting in the videos. And actually, I should fix this right here because I kind of moved this. If I put that down, that's a little better, actually. Yeah. But you guys don't notice that stuff. I think of it as like a subconscious thing, and like, well, if I make a video, I want to make it as professional looking as I can, even though the only thing that really seems to make a difference is how good the information is in the video. I read that your title and thumbnail are the first two things someone notices when they're looking for channels. It's absolutely true, and you know what? That's why, one of the reasons why for the live streams, I mean, we did start setting the titles every day, and that does seem to make a little bit of a difference for the replay. But the reality is that there's only a certain type of person that's interested in watching this on replay, and trying too hard on the thumbnails for the live streams just reduces your click-through rate, like, because they know it's a live stream. So it's better to just not worry about it. And it does look like YouTube is treating live streams and normal videos differently. So I try and spend a lot of time thinking about what is the best thumbnail and title for my one-off videos. Because those are the important ones. Those are the ones where I'm actually giving you, especially for new traders, something that you can really take away. These live streams, I mean, I'm not saying that they're useless, but I don't necessarily want to lay out my whole strategy for everybody, you know? So I kind of have tried to move more towards treating it as fun and a community building, like working together sort of a thing. Although I feel like we can do better on that part, and I'm not quite sure what the right way is to do it. Like, I want to spend more time collaborating and working on strategies together with you guys and backtesting stuff for you guys. But I know that when you do that sort of thing, that it's not necessarily the best place to do it on the live stream, because, you know, everybody could see it then. And those things you would want to keep private. So then I think that a great way to do it would be like for elite subscribers, and like if you've been around, I can just give you access to the Discord channel, and we can build them in there like that. So that's kind of the way I've been leaning. But, you know, I just like created the website and haven't really said anything about it other than when you guys bring it up. But I haven't like made like any kind of a marketing push. And a lot of you have downloaded the indicators, but I haven't seen a lot of subscriptions. So I'm kind of wondering how realistic that is. YouTube likes long live streams, I read, so their analytics are designed to send you into longer streams each time you search for something, so your long live streams should fit their models. Oh, really? Well, one of the things that I've always found really interesting is the amount of watch time is insane. Because I wouldn't just sit and watch a live stream for 3 hours on replay, but a lot of people do it. I'm gonna try. I got something in my nose here that I really want to get. Okay, so man, I just need to blow my nose later, but I'm not gonna do it while I'm on stream. That skunk will just stay there. It's not actually blocking my airway. It'd be better to just let it dry out. So I mean, I'm keep hearing stuff over the squawk about Brexit, and the headlines that I'm getting on Brexit today do not sound very positive about it. Too much information about my nose. Excuse me. Yeah, there's still something kind of weeping up in there. I just need to ignore it probably. It's my ADHD kicking in, like I can feel something in there and it's like, okay, gotta do something about it, but like probably shouldn't be touching it. See, I touched it there. Does doing that potentially move the septum, make it not grow back straight? Yes, see, these are the problems that you get with ADHD. How's it going, John? I was thinking after the stream today, well, what do I want to do today? I want to put this chalkboard up. Can you see the chalkboards behind me? There's this one there's this one over here. There's this chalkboard, and that one was okay. But then I found this chalkboard that I think came out of a church. It's kind of like a reddish brown color, which I think is the way that all of the churches were. And I want to put that up. I want to put that over on the wall here so that I can make some videos about it. And then we can make some videos. I think that the first one that I'm going to do with the chalkboard is about expectancy, because I thought that everybody knew about expectancy. But when I get on Reddit in particular, it's like people don't understand this stuff. And it's so frustrating. Not just expectancy, but like, what are the different types of strategies and what are the advantages or disadvantages of having a strategy that has a high reward ratio or a high probability of win? And what are the pitfalls of them and how likely are they to continue working effectively into the future based off of the data that you have and other pieces of information that you're going to want to look at when investigating a strategy beyond just the total amount that you won or lost. Because what happens is retail traders see a strategy and they see, oh, it made money, and then they don't look at anything else. And they don't look at it and say, oh yeah, but it had a losing streak of like 12 or of like 70 losing trades in a row that would blow out my account. That sort of a thing. So I think that would be the first one that I want to do for that. So I want to get that up today, but I don't need to do that immediately. And I need to go back. I was building a strategy with John that wasn't bad. I had concerns about like actually running it because it was like it would backtest pretty good when you go over certain, like the past few months. But then when you try and backtest it over 4 years, it was basically just break even. But that's not terrible either. I've been able to backtest some other ones since then, John, that were better, even better than that. So I have one that is based largely on order flow. And over the past 2 months, it was giving me a profit factor of 1.5. And a pretty good win rate, was like a 55% win rate, I think. And probably it was odd. The thing that was odd about these strategies was that normally I'll go and I'll do a strategy and I'll be like, okay, so here's the signal that I want to get. Okay. And this is the properties about it. So now let's see if we can increase the win rate by filtering certain trades out. So like, let's see what the moving average, what X moving average was at the time, and only take the trade in line with that moving average. And that tends to, increase the win rate a little bit better. Decreases the number of trades and increases the win rate, right? Well, when I did those sorts of filters with these order flow strategies, there was no pattern to it at all. It was like normally that would improve your win rate, and it didn't do a darned thing. Didn't do a darned thing. So it's kind of interesting. I think that these areas that I was looking at were areas that you would expect to be balanced, and so that's probably part of it, but man. Anyways, so I went and I did that. Now I want to go back to the strategy that we were doing with John and take another look at it and say, okay, what if we take this as a signal and we apply some order flow filters to it instead? Do it the other way. I'm thinking we have to focus more on developing a reliable exit signal and methods. The entries are only half the equation. Yeah, that's a really good point too. So because I increased my RAM, so the big thing that has happened since I spoke with you was that I doubled the amount of RAM in my system. And it's kind of funny because it never uses more than 15 gigabytes of RAM. But for some reason, just having that space there, it's like the machine knows that it's about to run out of RAM, and so it does other stuff to try and help it that actually end up making things worse or something. So with the double the amount of RAM, now it's like I can't get NinjaTrader to crash on me at all, and I can backtest any kind of order flow setup as long as, I'm doing it on a small enough time frame. So like I'm able to do, like an order flow over the past 2 months, 1,000 different iterations of it, 30 minutes, something like that. And then I can go back and I can do one variation of that strategy and backtest it over the whole year. So that's good. Did you go from 16 to 32? I went from 16 to 32. Yeah. So I doubled the amount of RAM. You didn't hear this story. Oh my gosh. So here's what happened. I get the RAM in last Thursday, I think it was. So took the Friday off. And I'm like, okay, let's put the RAM in the machine and try it out. So I take it out, I put it all in and put the machine back together. And I have this freaking heatsink, man. It's really good. It keeps the CPU cool. Probably I need to replace the oil. So what do they call it? The liquid that you put between the CPU and the heatsink. I probably need to redo that part now that I've taken it apart, but it's doing okay. It's not anywhere close to hot right now. So, but it's just big, and it's so big that it goes over top the thermal paste. That's right. It's so big that it covers the RAM. So to put the RAM in, I have to take this freaking huge heatsink off. And not only that, there's not like some quick release or anything on the board. No. You have to like hold the heatsink on one side and then go around to the other side of the motherboard and unscrew the back bracket off of it. So it's a really big pain to get it off. So I put everything together and the machine boots up, and I go into Windows and I go like this. I go Control Alt Escape. I'll come over here, come over to Performance, and it'll say, okay, you're using memory. I click on memory. Okay. And it will say, okay, you're using like 10 gigabytes and there's only 6 available. And it like literally is saying, oh, like there's 16 gigabytes that are there I can see, but I can't use them. And I'm like, what? So I go on this big long search and everything. That people are suggesting all of these different things, but in the end I decide maybe there's something wrong with the motherboard, as I never flashed the BIOS. So I decide to go and flash the BIOS. And which I've never done before on this machine. And you got to realize flashing the BIOS can be, you can brick your motherboard basically with the BIOS. There can be these things. You can potentially, like, there are ways to like short the board out and reset the memory in it so that it goes back to the original BIOS and everything. But otherwise, like, you might have to RMA it, just send it back to the manufacturer, right? So I flashed the BIOS, and when I flashed the BIOS, like, the screen goes blank. It says, okay, now I'm doing it, does the whole thing. And now is the point where I would expect it to like restart or something, and like nothing happens. It just goes blank and nothing happens. So I try everything, like to restart it and different ways of restarting it and everything. It won't start. And so I'm like, crap. Because I don't have a backup trade. I guess I could go and use my son's setup downstairs, but I'm like, oh no, we're gonna miss tomorrow's stream. And I'm gonna have to RMA my board, and who knows how long that's gonna take. Oh, I was freaking out, man. Like, I was stressed out about it. I was just like, I lay it on the floor and I was like, oh, fuck. Crap. This is so bad. Okay, it's okay. Let's just keep doing stuff and we'll keep working until we've got to go to bed, and it will go down fighting at the very least. So I decide to take that freaking huge heat sink off again and just leave it off for a little bit and take all of the RAM out and start putting them in one by one. And when I started putting them in one by one, then everything worked. So it turns out that one of the RAM was just misseated, which is like a really dumb thing to screw up. And I was positive that it was seated correctly, but taking it out, putting it back in seems to fix the issue. And it was just that one of the things that changed from the motherboard was that if a piece of RAM is unseated, it just straight up won't boot. So finally I fixed all that and I got 32 gigs of RAM. Early close Thursday and Friday. Yeah. Oh, Maxwell is market closed tomorrow and Friday. So I think that the stock market is closed tomorrow, and on Friday it's an early close, right? Do they, or is the NYSE open on Thursday? Let's go look at the NYSE. So the CME is always different, right? But the NYSE is one where I think we want to ask that. NYSE holiday schedule, holidays and trading hours. NYSE. So Thanksgiving Day is a holiday for the NYSE. So I think that the CME will be open tomorrow, but it will be like shortened trading hours. And yeah, there's literally no reason to trade tomorrow. Friday, you get like this shortened session that can actually have some interesting action in it. Although I don't know if it's particularly good action for us, and I'm not planning on streaming on Black Friday. But they trade some of the reports about how Black Friday is going. It's going to be really weird this year because they're not really having Black Friday, but I digress. Anyways, so I'm able to backtest order flow indicators, right? And so I went in and I backtested with my inventory cost basis indicator. So I was just trying some trades like, if we're coming up into this and you take it just when it crosses those lines. And I actually got positive backtests off of it with just the line. Was actually really surprised because I've always said, well, these seem to make good exits, but entries are a little iffy. But it seems that there is some momentum that you will get when you cross those lines that you can take advantage of. It wasn't really great. I don't think that I would trade it per se, but it did work. So that might be one thing that we could look at for an exit. Do you read both of those studies? I read the first one. I didn't have time to read the second one yet. But it seemed like they were both kind of similar things. I don't know if we can really utilize that information in our futures trading, though, because it seemed like what they were saying was that if you see a bunch of short interest come in to the market overall one day, that you're likely to see the market actually rise, because that can actually be an indication of really passive buying activity, right? Is what John's talking about. I don't know if that would help us. I don't know. Focus. We're talking about exits, right? So I was just saying we should be able to trade my inventory cost basis and use those as profit targets and see where that gets us. We also need to look at adjusting targets based off of range. I haven't had a lot of success doing that for some reason, but we should look at that. Because the rest of it is just like using different kinds of signals for your exits than for your entries, which, I mean, you can do, but I've kind of run into issues with that sort of a thing. So, like, I'll give you an example of where you run into a problem with that is like when the entry signal and the exit signal are both active at the same time. So you have to check that the other signal isn't true. Otherwise, it will just get in and out over and over and over and over and over again. Goose asks to use Bloodhound for testing. No. So I saw that they did another webinar on Futures.io. I'm interested to go watch that, but that's the sort of thing that I would maybe watch when like I'm working that day and I'm waiting on somebody and I can listen to it in the background on like 2x speed or something. But I've personally, well, so first of all, they commented on one of my videos and I was like super happy about it. So they have some cool stuff, and especially, you know, some of the things where like they have Renko bars that you can actually do a back test on. That's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. But it seems to me that the main advantage of Bloodhound is that it allows you to go and build up a strategy using, you know, a GUI style of programming language, which just doesn't really interest me. I've worked with languages like that before, and I don't really like them. And I can spit out strategies pretty quickly now because I just have so much boilerplate code to test around. Their Renko bars were actually built for them by Fat Tails. Is that true? You know, these are what are they called? They're shark indicators, right? Bloodhound shark indicators. Yep, that's right. So this is like create your own Ninja Trader strategy in minutes, and it's like the kind of strategies that I see them making in here. It's like, yeah, I can make that in minutes too. I just copy and paste code from other spots, and I don't know. That particular thing doesn't interest me. Now they have this other stuff. So like the bar types, that's what I was talking about, where it's like, oh, how do I do this? I clicked on it and it didn't take me to anywhere. Bar types. Oh, I have to go into here. Backtest line break bar? Ooh. That's cool. Generates a clean looking chart that is quite similar. Are we talking about range bars? Anyways, these could have some use, but then I look at the price and I'm like, I don't know if that's worth $225. Now they have this Heat Map Pro. That's kind of cool. Although there's kind of other ways of going about that now. And then there's this thing, the Blackbird. This is interesting to me because it's doing a lot of your dynamic kind of trade management stuff for you. which seems kind of cool. How much is that one? It's crazy, right? So then I look at those and I'm like, you got a lizard, man. Lizard indicators. I don't know if I told you about this one, bots, but I did finally go and purchase Fat Tail's lizard indicators, and I went and he has like some generalized indicators. Here, I'll show you guys. You go to all indicators, right? So like he has some generalized Bollinger Bands and things like that. Multiple Bollinger Bands. There's 2 of them. There's another one. And in their multiple Bollinger Bands, you can select like 15 different types of moving average for the center line of your Bollinger Band. So I went and I created a strategy that iterates through literally every single one of them and sees to see which one works best. And that was really interesting because you will get some that actually are really that perform really, really well. Like you go over to the past year and there's one or two of them that have like a profit factor of 3 and like a really high win rate too. It's like it doesn't take it very often, but when it does, it wins, which is exactly what you should expect from a Bollinger Band. But then you say, okay, so let's backtest that over 4 years and it's break even. So it's curve fitting it, basically, is what happens. Probably we could go deeper than that and do it in a way that doesn't curve fit and maybe find something. But then I went and get this. I'm going to make videos about all of these. So maybe today I think I want to do the chalkboard. I want to look at some of these strategies with John, and I want to maybe record the video for Bollinger Bands. If not today, then maybe I'll do that tomorrow or Friday. So still wake up early and do that when I would normally be streaming. Actually makes a lot of sense. But yeah, so then I went and I did another one with their candlesticks. So I figured out how to make it so that it will do, you know, it'll just take a trade when it gets a candlestick signal. Yeah, it was a pretty bearish opening there. And there was a couple of those candlesticks that actually provided some interesting results as well. The candlestick setups that seemed to work the best were not candlestick setups that I had ever heard of before. They were not the popular candlestick setups out there, actually. But then it was like, yes, but curve fitting, maybe. So then I went and I made an even more complicated one. This one was actually, I had to use reflection to do it. But I made one that used all of the candlestick patterns in one strategy. And I think that what I'm going to do is I'm going to expand that to be an indicator that will just show for you every candlestick pattern on the chart. And I want it to do like a, I don't know how to do this. We'll just see what it comes through. But I have this larger idea in my head. This larger idea in my head is this. The indicator of indicators. So you come through and you look at every common retail trader setup. Moving average cross, moving average moving up versus moving down, Bollinger Band overextension. Basically, I just take it like the top, like let's say 20. I mean, I think I want to include a lot. It's going to be big. 20 to 50 different indicators and the most common setups that you use with those. And then it will show you on a chart how many of those are signaling long or short. And then we'll see what it comes out. And it would basically be like the overarching technical analysis indicator. And my theory is that you could trade against it. My theory is that you will get into a spot where it will start giving you a lot of signals, and that will be a place where you can take advantage of retail traders getting false signals. One to rule them all. Yeah, that's what I want to make eventually. It's going to be a lot of work because we're going to have to program in specific setups, a lot of specific setups. But so that's kind of where things went with the candlesticks. But that's where I was coming back, and I was like, okay, let's come back. Let's look at this one signal that we got with John. Can we actually get it to run? Can we actually program it to run and have a profit target? Can we improve its effectiveness using order flow? There's lots of different things that we can investigate. Especially when we are getting signals that, when you look at it over a year and you can get like 1.25, that's not bad. Like, I feel like that's a starting spot, at least. That's kind of like one of those where it's like, yeah, there might be a little bit of edge in there that the market hasn't fully taken advantage of yet. I don't think that they're very common, but I do think you could find them, and we should be able to find them because I think that we have a little bit of an advantage in that arena. But that just goes back to the whole thing that's like, I want to get you guys into Discord more, in some private channels where we can really collaborate more with that, and I can show you a strategy, and then you guys can give some suggestions on what to do with it. Because the biggest problem that I think I'm running into is I'll take something a certain so far, and then like I don't know what to do with it. Like John talking about exits, like that's a really good question. It's like I'm not quite sure what else I can do to improve exits. Although we haven't really tried, so let's not say that we can't do it until we've tried. Ace asks, is anybody else short? No, I'm waiting until the news at the top of the hour, I decided. So the action before the open was really awful. Like, I was thinking about taking a trade, and I saw how tight it was, and I was like, okay, no, we don't want to take that one. And now we've got this trade. They did go short off of the open. We could have taken 2 points out of it, but it's a little, it's still waving up and down a lot. It's still really choppy. So I think that if we wait for this huge deluge of fundamental data that we're supposed to get at the top of the hour, that after that, then we might have some better opportunity for that kind of a strategy. Low liquidity and shorting. Well, you gotta wonder what the deal is. Tesla jumps 10 points? Really? They're doing a recall? Isn't that the thing? The big news today was that they're recalling 9,000 vehicles, and that's a reason to buy the stock? What? Tesla's just getting crazy. The whole electric vehicle market is just getting crazy. And that one, I'm sick of hearing about that one too. I'm hearing up a lot of people saying, because it's at like what, $50 right now, and I'm seeing a lot of people saying it should go to $100. And I'm like, I have no clue. I don't know anything about the company. All I know is that everybody's talking about it, and if everybody's talking about it, I probably don't want to be involved. Oh my gosh, there's another story. Have you guys seen this thing about the monolith in the desert that they found in Utah? Like, Tesla buying is being affected by the move to the S&P. Oh, that's right. When do they have to be in by? That's still like December 6th or something, right? I'm just pulling numbers out. I'm just pulling dates out of my butt. I don't know. some modern artist is sitting somewhere laughing so hard about that thing, right? Like, I really think that this story has gotten way more attention than it deserved. So did you see that on Reddit, they had pictures of it, right? And somebody on Reddit went and found the flight logs for the helicopter, so they knew when they took off in what direction they were going, and essentially were able to use what the terrain looked like in that area to find it on Google Maps. Not only did they find it on Google Maps, but when Google Maps last took a picture of that location in like 2015, it was there. So it's not just that it's like a monolith out in the middle of the desert that just like showed up one day. No, it's been there for like 5 years and nobody noticed. And freaking every like news outlet is talking about this freaking metal monolith out in the desert that they've like bolted to the desert floor. And you're right, it's probably some modern artist. The whole thing is just kind of weird, isn't it? Weird that it would happen, weird that it would get that much. Okay, Tesla's moving December 1st. Oh, really? So tell me, John, in your experience, because this was the big thing we've been asking, you're somebody that's been around a lot longer than me. I don't know you really watch individual stocks, so you might not be the best person to ask. But after they are added to the index, then what? Then what? Still hearing Brexit stuff. Does the buying subside? Then everybody's got them. They're added into the index, and the Tesla fervor dies down, and maybe even like sells off a bit, or at least goes to where all of the analysts think it's actually correctly valued at. Does the inclusion of Tesla just increase the volatility of the index in general? So some guys here in chat have been saying that when we add, I think Gary was suggesting that they add Tesla into the index and that it's going to make the S&P 500 more volatile. And the thing is, I've never really watched a stock super closely going into, I know that they tend to rise going into the addition, but I don't think that we really even have anything to compare against. Like, has there ever been a stock that big added in, But you have to wonder, because the buy case for Tesla was always that it would be added to the index. So now that it's added to the index, I don't know. Everything that I read about Tesla is like that their products aren't very good right now, and there's a recall, and this auto-driving car crashed, and Zero Hedge is always posting bad information, like, all of the bad news about Tesla, they're always posting that on Zero Hedge. Seems like Zero Hedge doesn't like that stock. Well, I don't know what stock it's replacing. We should go and look at what they are. By the way, yesterday we were talking about stocks, and I was saying, come back to me with a consumer discretionary. Did you guys think of any good consumer discretionaries? Because otherwise, like, we're gonna buy Crocs or something stupid like that. That's Zero Hedge is like the Fox News of stock markets. There's a section of it that absolutely is. You're right. I got to tell you, Zero Hedge is such an interesting animal. They're always so. Here's the first thing that I don't think people realize about Zero Hedge. The majority of the articles on Zero Hedge are not written by them. They are almost always reposting with permission articles that they found on other blogs. And of course, there's a bias in how they select those, because they're almost always selecting bearish articles, right? But Zero Hedge also does analysis of what the major Wall Street banks' research divisions are saying about the macro outlook. And there's a lot of articles about JP Morgan thinks this and Goldman Sachs thinks this, and they kind of poke a bit of fun at it. And I find those articles so useful. And I can't find that anywhere else. Or like the gamma, the whole gamma melt thing. Like when we first came off of those highs back in August or whatever it was, because of that huge gamma meltdown, you know, Zero Hedge was all over that. And I didn't hear about that anywhere else until after it had happened, you know? So it's like, but then they have all of these political articles that you really just kind of have to ignore. Like, I guess they're fun to read sometimes if you're a right-wing person, but it's usually like conspiracy theory nonsense, you know? Outlooks about the future of politics that are, you know, bearish and never come to fruition. I mean, I've been watching this for 10 years. I've always been like a really hated Zero Hedge, to be honest with you. But the reality is that they post stuff that can provide edge to retail traders that I can't find anywhere else. You could find me a place that gives me that kind of analysis. Like, you know, all of the major macro outlooks from different banks and what they're looking at, and deep dives into current market positionings and options and all of that sort of stuff. And I would be willing to pay upwards of $50 a month for that. But he's linking me to Market Watch. He's giving me the Market Watch. That's just their latest headlines. Well, there you go. There's one. Why it's worth sticking with stocks even at record levels, HSBC strategist says. You know, we do get articles like this from CNBC too. They're just not as common, and they don't go into as much detail about what they're saying. So let's read this one here. How much detail do they go into that one? It's a fairly long article. That does seem worth reading. Is Market Watch is the Barron's website? Do they have a no? Investing Barron's on Market Watch. Oh, you can sign up. You can create an account. Free member benefits. Free premium newsletters. Here we go. Retirement weekly, $59 an hour. Year Revolution investing, $100 a year. The Technical Indicator. Become a better trader with exclusive technical analysis reports. $200 a year. No, thank you. Not that it's too much, but I'm skeptical that that technical analysis give you anything. I don't know. CNBC equals all Apple all the time. There you go. I've never been a fan of Apple as a company. Never been a fan of Apple as a company. I remember in the 2008 crisis, I set up a portfolio and I said, okay, like, let's just say we buy a bunch of stuff now, and what would be the best stuff to buy? And I said Google and Apple, and then I think I had like Ford, which did okay, I guess, and I don't remember what else ones were in there. The thing was I put it all in a Google Finance portfolio, and Google nuked that feature, so you can't look at it anymore. But it beat the market. Hey. I didn't think that it was that great of a... When I look back at it, and I'm like, beginner's luck, because you're just creating something with high alpha. Or sorry, not high alpha, but like you're just getting into something with the highest beta at the low, and then of course, yeah, you'd beat the market. So, boom. I don't know. I've been looking for like a really good newsletter subscription service, and I haven't found one that really gets me. Like something that I would
I like the articles on it more than Zero Hedge. Haven't found it. But we could start visiting MarketWatch more. I have like a list. Do I have MarketWatch on that list? Boom, 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 boom. Still got about 10 minutes. Here we are. Put that up here. Actually, I put it more towards the top. MarketWatch. See, I have like a... What do I got? So I've looked at CNBC Pro, MarketWatch, Bloomberg, Financial Times, Wall Street Journal, The Economist, Barron's, Forbes, Investor Business Daily, Macro Hive. Then they got into magazines. There's the Stocks and Commodities, Traders World. Stocks and Commodities is an interesting one because like you can like sign up for a free account and you get like a demo to go through their thing. So I went through the last year and looked at like their technical indicators and what they were pushing and everything. And I was like really quite disappointed that it was really like beginner focused, not really showing results. It was like, man, this is terrible. I would have thought that a magazine would have gone through and been like, okay, like here's a new technical indicator that you've never seen before, and we created a strategy with it, and here's how it performed over the past year, and here are all of the results and stats about it, and here it is in TradeStation. Like I thought that's what it was going to be like, but it's no. It's like just as bad as all the shit that you read on Reddit and YouTube and stuff. Anyways, and then I got Seeking Alpha. And then I got more into the data ones. So I got like different sections. So like there's Simply Wall Street is really great. Koi-fish is really great. It's good push lower. Okay, so they're kind of at the average buying position from yesterday. Another leg down would maybe take us down into the 3608 area. Ooh. Fixed income and equity traders at large banks could see large bonuses anywhere from 20% to 45% over the previous year. I bet. Micro ES testing lows of the day around 50% pullback. Yeah. It's kind of funny, John. Our inventory cost basis, especially off of a large move like that, very often does end up being at 50%. But then you'll get that move where it's like it comes back and it doesn't go 50%, it goes further, and you're like, okay, so then where is that actually? So like here is a good example. Like if they're going to hold this thing, then probably they will hold it here around 36.23, 50% move, right? But if they don't, I'm betting you 3608. 3608. Because you can just watch the old positions. Positioning matters. Positioning isn't predictive, it doesn't seem, but positioning matters. There's a little bit of edge we can pull out there in terms of which prices we want to trade. Yeah, I don't think I want to take a trade yet. $36.08 was where yesterday's breakout started, yeah. And it, because there'd be more volume traded there, you would expect that the average position, but that's where the average seller position ended up being. You see, like here, let me show you. Let me get it big.
Let me get it big. So do you see? There's today and the overnight. And then there's always going to be a little bit of messiness around the opens because, you know, new session, new positions and everything. But so I'm looking at this area right here. You see that? So there's that and there's that. I actually think that that one matters more. So 3605, let's say. Now, what I was going to point out to you is for sure around 3608 or so was where you get like single prints, right? But look at what happens. The average seller position stays down here, and the average buyer position increases. So what causes that? I say chasing. So what happened was the sellers probably stopped out here. But probably after this point, there's not really any market makers trying to sell anymore because they're all stopped out. Or if they do, they're losing over and over and over again. So this stays constant. But the other market makers are buying into it with market orders. Well, not the other market makers, but generally speaking, the market is buying into it with market orders. And it's really hard to get filled on the limit, but anytime that you do get filled in on the limit, they take it and they try and let it ride. And so the buyer's cost basis increases. And what happens? Oh. So here's an overnight stop out zone. If we get bearish news at the top of the hour, could we do this? I think that's the most likely scenario. Now you could also see this with a volume profile, probably, right? So let's try and look at it from a volume profile. We'll look at the difference. Bum, 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 bum. Yes. There we go. Okay. So you can see that there's a bump in the volume profile at 3607, and there's the lower end of this profile at 36.5. Okay, so there is a ton of data coming here at the top of the hour. How are we going to prioritize what we're going to look at? So I think that the personal income and personal spending numbers are the ones that I'm most interested in, and we'll probably move the treasuries the most. Also PCE. PCE moves the treasuries a lot. On the that maybe even more than the personal spending, I don't know. On the stock side, I think consumer sentiment. So consumer sentiment final previous reading 77. Oh no, estimated reading 77. Okay. E-mini continuing down. I think some of the inflammation left on my nose. It still looks weird though. I think that's just the lighting. Still looks kind of like this side right here is like, I can see that bump more than on this side. It doesn't look straight to me. Oh well. I can breathe. That's what matters, man. Oh my gosh. I can breathe. Like I've got gunk in my nose. Normally, if there was any gunk in my nose, it'd be like, oh, I can't breathe. But now it's like somebody like attached a turbo blaster onto my face, you know? It feels so good. 10-year yield, spot 86, low of day. Yeah, the treasuries are pushing up pretty good too. We probably could have taken a trade off of that one. But I think I did the right thing by avoiding the equities for now. Now, what we get is a market quite short going into this news, right? So if the numbers are bad, that's a more difficult trade. If we came out and all of these numbers were like gangbangers, then we could have a really good rally, but they must be predicting that those numbers aren't going to be good. You kind of have to wonder. I'm a little perplexed. I don't want to say perplexed, but yesterday was a really bullish day, and a lot of the macroeconomic factors and everything else kind of don't look good right now, do they? Zero Hedge says, here we go again because the treasury yields are rising. Well, it's not. It's kind of just returning back to where we were a few days ago. And we're still well below where we were from the election. Okay. Focus time. Those spending numbers come in high. I think I want to go short treasury. That's the best trade I see right now. Oh, that's did not do what it was supposed to do. Okay, so we haven't gotten the numbers yet. Oh, new home sales. I'm seeing month over month negative spot 3 versus an expected 1 spot 5. That's surprising. New home sales in October 999,000 versus an expected 970,000. Consumer expectations 70 spot 5 versus an estimated 71 spot 3. So not good. Okay, personal income higher than expected. Spending slightly lower than expected. Okay. So consumer expectations, that's not good. We'll just do that and pretend that little boo-boo didn't happen. Because it wasn't supposed to enter into a position. I don't know why it did. Oh, I had this back the wrong way. I see why I made that mistake. Okay. I thought that my stop volume was like really low, but it was 433, and that was lower than 433, so that's probably why it hit it. Okay. Personal income, not. Was I reading that wrong? Spending spot 5 versus an estimated spot 4. Better than expected income, negative spot 7 versus an expected 0. It seems to me like most of this was all priced in. Treasury's pushing higher. And the E-mini dropping. I think that this has a possibility of really turning into something kind of major, because we get to 3608, and do we really have funds that have to sell stocks going into this? You know, they're gonna start panicking. He says, drop, baby, drop. Are you still short on that, huh? Okay, well, we're getting significant clicks. There is like an overnight position that we're running into here at 3615, so doesn't look like we're gonna get this sell into us to take this. I'm just going to hold off on this a little bit and wait for a better entry on that one. With this one, I'm thinking about pulling that. Let's see. So some volume at 3618.50. Not much volume coming into the treasury, believe it or not. Not so sure about this. It seems like I see the possibility of them moving down much further, but I'm not sure that they really have the juice. I find it really interesting. The price is making pretty good moves. Oh, I don't know. Is a handle or two really a big deal? But price is moving up a little bit at the moment. That the volume is just pretty dead. President Trump expected to join Rudy Giuliani at voter fraud event in Pennsylvania. The voter fraud event, the heck. Technical analysis never works. I'm telling you, there's more to what you do than technical analysis, man. Either I don't understand your system well enough, or there's more to what you do than technical analysis. Cycles do work. I think we should not use the word work, right? To me, when we say work, what I think of is I should be able to give this system to any retail trader and they could make money doing it. And I don't think there's anything like that. But I think what we would rather say is specify the exact performance or usefulness of a particular indicator, right? So cycles could potentially help you pick better spots. You might be able to quantifiably prove how good of a spot it gets you in backtesting. That would not necessarily preclude that cycles alone will make you money versus that it has some edge. Get what I mean? Yeah, I don't have a sunny view of technical analysis, especially on short time frames. That's one of the things that drives me nuts the most, is that the shorter the time frame that it gets, the more people want to use technical analysis. And all of the studies that I've done seem to suggest that it's the opposite, that it's much harder to develop an edge on a short time frame off of technicals, because the movement at that point is much more random. They're really trying to squeeze them into that 14, man. We should watch that 13 because the treasury could tumble back down here if the E-mini really decides to stage a comeback. Yeah, now that everybody knows where the monolith is, I'm sure that tons of people are going to go and try and visit it. If you didn't want anybody to visit it, you should have just not said anything about it. So then technical works on a long-term time frame. So on a long-term time frame, if you use technical analysis on stocks, you're a pretty good chance that you will make money. But at that point, whether or not you make money is not really the key metric that you need to be looking at, right? At that point, you really have to factor in the amount of risk that you're taking on with that. And are you like beating out the market? Because if you're in the market almost all of the time, but you're not actually beating the returns that you would get from really just being in all the time, then what is the point of what you're doing? You get what I mean? I don't get why you are so close-minded. I think that I'm totally open about it. But the issue is that people have been unable to present the evidence necessary to disprove the statement. So that's why I'm saying on short time frames, it seems that technical analysis, a lot of it is just random. On long time frames, the statement is that you're unlikely to get better risk adjusted returns than you would just being in the market all the time. Now, interestingly enough, the technical, like we talk about quants, and I suppose you could say quants use technical analysis, right? But what I'm finding is that the majority of what quants do has more to do with portfolio theory than it does analyzing the charts and predicting a specific direction. Well, it's a pretty good up move. They've beaten out the range. This could turn into just like the past. Have you noticed how many days lately it's been like it starts with a pretty dramatic sell-off and then in the end they just buy? That was another one of those, like the market makers just kind of pulled the orders. Here at 13, we did catch the edge there in the 10-year, but it was because they sold through the iceberg. So now I think I kind of need to see some of these market makers pull their orders a bit. But I would say, for a short-term signal, have you back-tested the signal and what are the properties of the signal that you've tested? What is the profit factor that you get on it? What is the probability of winning? What is your average winner compared to your average loser? What is the largest losing streak that it has. Like show me a strategy that back tested would pass a combine every month. Show me that. I don't think that it exists. I need 100 contracts and then it would make okay. Well, the 5-year ticked up there and kind of pulled its sisters with her. The E-mini is kind of topping out here after passing through the range. It sure looks to me like they want to drop back down, but I'm not sure why I feel that way. So it really hasn't moved from where it is. Kind of on the edge of a profile right here at 23.2 that I don't know if... Well, it makes it an interesting spot to take a trade, I guess, but I don't know if it really makes sense to sell into that. Blowing the whistle on fraud could make you eligible for rewards of 10 to 30% of sanctions collected from wrongdoers. Fraud victims may also receive restitution. Oh, that's great. How come you haven't responded to any of the numerous cases of false claims and fraud from trading educators? That is the CFTC, right? It's a pretty healthy offer again when it decides to go offer. Stop is small enough, 2 ticks above 24.75. Yeah, I think I could agree with you that from a risk reward perspective, it seems okay. I'm not getting like a clear read on why it should be doing something here, even though I seem to have an inkling that it does. Was all I'm trying to get at. So is it just that I want it to go down? Is that why I feel that way? Or is it really just a sell here and I'm seeing something? But from what I know, I'd say that it's pretty likely to chop around in here, and I'm not really sure if it's going to go up or down. The treasuries don't seem to be 100% certain either. Tesla's not going down yet. Okay, well, there was a little bit of a slip. So a little bit of liquidity just not holding in this area. Treasury's upticking there? What? Only 3,000 at 14 though. And that's probably not a good sign. ZB broke through prior day high. Oh wait, why did that? Oh, I see. Cool. What happened there? I'm confused on what happened there, but okay. Mm-hmm. These are just, I'm just finding that it's a little bit too easy for them to move at a handle right now. Is Ace in Discord? No. We got him in there like once and he hasn't been able to figure out how to get back in. That's your task this weekend, Ace, is to get into Discord. You can't get back in. You have to verify a phone account. Is probably why you're having problems. What? The AstraZeneca didn't intentionally experiment with multiple vaccine dosing regimens. Instead, it was a doctor's mistake that caused it to explore the half dose, which is how it got to 90% efficacy. Yeah. I think the reason they're having problems, John, is that we set the Discord up to stop spammers so that you have to have a verified phone number attached to your address. And if you had gotten into the Discord and were given, because you're like in the Elite Traders section in there, it didn't require you to verify your phone number ever after that. So you probably didn't have to deal with that problem. But my understanding is that you need to go into your Discord account, make sure that you have a verified email address and a verified phone number with the address in your Discord account, and then go and click on the Discord link and join the Discord. Oh, it did require you to verify your phone number? Well, there you go. So then I think that his argument stands that if he can figure it out, I'm sure you can. The multi-step verification, yeah, you're gonna have to go through a verification process. It's okay. Discord won't ask you for your social security number. Well, this is not working. I'm actually kind of wondering if I can get that. Why don't they make it easy and use your DNA? I kind of wonder sometimes when they're going to make like a universal login standard. They're kind of getting that way with Google. It's really nice to be able to use your Google account for a lot of things now, but yeah. I should do a video on how to get in. Thing is that I don't know how to. I can't like verify with another phone number. I only have one phone number, right? I guess I could do it on my wife's phone. I know it would start with going to discordapp.com and logging in, creating an account if you don't already have one. And then once you have that account, setting up an email and a phone number with it and verifying them. I find the way that the S&P 500 is behaving here now really odd. It kind of feels like that the shorts got what they wanted, and the bulls are too scared. I don't know. Yeah, they're just stuck at the 10 a.m. news price. Yeah, that's exactly it, actually. But I mean, they moved lower after the news. I kind of thought that this was a thing like, okay, there's a ton of news. We have to get that news passed. And then the news didn't say anything significant. So then they should continue doing what they wanted to do anyways, which today appears to be selling, right? But they haven't done that. It's like everybody all went out for a vacation already. And I missed it. Now we're getting the crude oil numbers, and even crude oil's not really responding to that. Okay. Okay, so that 13.5 is doing okay at 10 now that that's gone offer. Hmm. Starting to get a little suspicious here. How about we just buy with 5 contracts for fun? ABC pattern, you're gonna have to prove to me that an ABC pattern has any positive edge on this time frame before I'm gonna care about an ABC pattern. Like, an ABC pattern is going to happen just from the nature of like a randomly moving thing. You're going to see ABC patterns, and that doesn't mean that it has any effectiveness at proving future price movements, you can message it to me on Discord. If you can figure out how to get in, because apparently some of the guys can't figure out how to get in. Oh, man. Oh, you have many videos. That makes me even more skeptical of you. Yo, guys, he's got videos. Just like the other 20 people that have started making YouTube channels after I started originally doing it and posting total bullshit that doesn't work and claiming that they're making all this money. And wait, do you have a program? Does he tell me? Please tell me you doesn't have a program. Nobody trades like me. Okay, buddy. Nope. Oh, okay. Well, if you just have trade logs, that's it. Yeah. Not selling a program, are you? Okay. Well, I was thinking more like, a 1 year performance statistics showing the signal, or even better, like a back-tested strategy in NinjaTrader. I use the title charts along with the barometer. Oh, jeez. I was probably overly mean to him. I have to apologize. It's just that you're picking up on like the one thing that's like unlikely to convince me. So like somebody comes in and says, "Oh, I'm doing something," and then I'm gonna be like, "You're full of shit. You're full of shit." Because like honestly, is there a retail trader out there that's trading something that they think doesn't work? And yet 95% of traders fail, right? Well, and then to add on top of that, it's something really common, right? Now, of course, we could discuss how would we backtest something like this. So the thing that's most interesting about an ABC pattern type of a strategy, right, is how do you determine when there's actually been what we're going to call a pivot or a swing, right? Because you're going to have this point at which it's like that was the furthest that it went, and now it's turning around and it's going the other way. And so now we know that it's formed the C, and so we can buy it because they're about to go up and they're going to make a higher high, right? But how do you determine when that point is? So then you could go and you could do things like we could wait for a close that closes above the previous bar's high, which is actually a really good way of doing it that we've backtested before. But by the time that you get that, then you get in too late, and then you're not able to get anything out of it from the ABC, right? I don't know. I know a lot of people that have made money doing all sorts of crazy things. That doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be able to continue to make money with it in the future. It sounds to me like he's selling something, guys. He's coming in. He's like, "Use my Skype." You know how many videos people that get comment on the videos like, "Oh, come and email this person and they'll get you started." It sounds like a crock of shit, dude. No, and especially when they come in, it's like that's the first thing that they say. Oh, here's my thing. Get in. No, don't believe you. Don't believe you. If you post so that one right there, I have to remove that. Sorry, you can't post information like that in YouTube videos. How we doing here? It's not really doing much of anything, is it? So I find it curious that it was fighting all of my positions, so I dinked around with it a little bit to see what we could make happen and get out of it. It's just a little too quiet, and it's too easy for it to move. It's like it goes nowhere, and then all of a sudden down like what, 2 points for no reason. It does look like the sellers are making better excursions at the moment, but like look at the treasury. You're okay. Just don't post links. Missed that one. It's unfortunate. You can't trust this market. I'm not going to go long here. Yeah, well, I don't know. This bar on the 5-minute basis looks quite bullish. They're going to have to get above 2350 to really convince the market, but yeah, exactly. It's kind of the spot. I really wish that I had gotten that 2050. I can't believe that I didn't get hit. Should have market hot into it. There really is a setup that I think it makes more sense to do it with a market order, but the thing that's kind of has me leaning long is just the way that the treasury has been all day. By the way, the dollar is crushed below 92 now. Well below 92, in fact. Yeah, I see DXY makes sense to go up then, yeah. Although it makes you wonder, why is the dollar plunging? I definitely feel like the market is specifically trying to fight me because it's doing weird things specifically around when I enter. It's an awfully odd series of coincidences. The prices are fake. I don't know. It's that the market moves are suddenly interesting to you. That could be, yeah. So in that particular, the one that really weirded me out was that I was like, okay, well, let's go long. It's not going anywhere, but we'll take one here at this thing. We'll go long. And then literally is almost as soon as I take it, and then it's like 5 seconds, and then there's a bunch of sell orders come in. And I'm sitting there thinking like, well, if there was somebody that could hit with like a 50 lot, they could probably try trading against me and make that happen. Because it's so light. Because I'm not trading I don't like trading in this kind of action really. And then I did all that messing around and it started to like, I don't know. I was definitely trying to mess with it. It does look like we're on the right side here, though. Passing through a recent pivot, coming to the buyer's line around 26 or so. Somewhere around 27, 28 seems irreasonable. I guess there's the volume profile right there. So now here's a question: if they're going to turn this into a buy, are they going to turn into gangbusters up again? So it would not be the first time this has happened. I promise the only thing the market cares about. No. Like, do you understand what I'm saying? I'm saying like you could sit and wait for a guy to get in a position, and then as soon as you know he's in a position, try and hit it with a 50 lot and see if orders follow it and push it against them immediately. right? Like I'm getting in a trade and I immediately see flow come in against me. I'm immediately like, okay, what's going on? Okay, well, because it seems like the market moves because you're in a trade. Well, sure, but again, like what I'm saying is, if I get in a trade, I shouldn't see a strong move of volume against me. And I guess there's a pretty good percentage chance that you're going to see that, right? But when it starts to do it every time I get in a trade and we're in basically random action, that's not random. You know what I mean? Like I did it 4 times there, and every time it went against me in like really slow and choppy action. How is that possible? How is that happening? Forget about how many times it moves when you're not in a trade. The question is, I'm in a trade 5 out of 5 times. As soon as you get in the trade, it goes against you. Is that random? Just asking for a friend. You think that that's random? Okay. So what if we did it 100 times and 80 times out of 100 it went against me? Then would we say it's random? Because my first response would be, well, if it's random, then clearly I just don't want to take that trade, right? It's not actually a good trade. Or maybe it's just a bad signal. But then that's when it gets into, okay, but if I've like back tested it and traded it for a while and it is a good signal, and then all of a sudden it stops working, there's something's wrong. You'd have to track when it moves when you are not in a trade? Well, but I don't think you understand what it does when I'm not in a trade doesn't matter, because I think that it's moving because I'm in a trade. Do you see? He says I don't understand. No. Okay, so let me put it let me put it this way, okay? Let's say that you got in a trade and there's a multi-billionaire that really hates you. And every time that you get in a trade, he has a way of knowing that you got in a trade and will immediately push the market a certain number of handles against you no matter what you do. Okay? When you're not in a trade, what the market does wouldn't matter, because the triggering event is you being in a trade. So, if that was the case and that was what was happening, how would you prove that that is or isn't what's happening? Because I say, if you get in a trade and 9 times out of 10, it immediately goes against you, kind of almost doesn't matter if it's out to get you or not, does it? the end result would be the same. No, that isn't the trigger. How do you know that? How do you know that? You only care about the moving because you were in a trade? Yes, because the question is it moving because of me? Is it moving the way that it is because of you? You're taking it for you see what you're doing is you're making an assumption that can't happen and basing everything off of that assumption, but you're not proving the assumption wrong. How would you prove that assumption wrong? I would think that the way that you would prove that assumption wrong is you go and you get in trades and you keep track of all of your trades, and then you look at what the end result of it all is. And at the end of all that, you should find out that it's actually more random than you realize. And, it's only actually going against you 50% of the time, and you're just only noticing the times that it's going down. But if you went through and you did all of that sort of stuff, and then you find out that it goes against you 90% of the time, then you would say, oh, okay, maybe it's just a bad signal, right? So then you start trading the opposite of that strategy. So you trade the opposite of that strategy, and it still goes against you 90% of the time. How does that work? I don't have to prove it wrong. You have to prove the claim. So I'm not so sure that that's the same, that kind of argument applies here, right? Because I'm not necessarily trying to prove something to you, right? I'm trying to prove it to myself, right? But that is kind of the point of it, is that it's kind of not provable. It's called cognitive bias. Okay, but again, let me lay it out for you here again. You see a signal. You have a signal that you trade. Maybe somebody else gave it to you. I don't know. Okay. You trade the signal, and maybe you start doing well with it, but then you get into a period, you go into this week, and 9 times out of 10, and let's say that you do 100 trades. Okay. So 90 trades out of 100 trades, it immediately goes against you and stops you out. Okay. Like, it's not just like, oh, it kind of meanders around. It immediately goes and stops you out. I'm trying to set you up for like the most clear situation here. Okay. Like the one where there's no nuance to discuss. Okay. I'm trying to eliminate any kind of nuanced discussion. Okay. You get into trade 90% of the time, it immediately goes against you and stops you out. Okay. What would your conclusion off of all of that be? Well, it seems to me that my conclusion would be that it's a bad signal. In fact, it's such a bad signal that it's worth trading against it. Okay. So then the next week you come in and you start trading against that signal. And the same thing happens 9 times out of 10 after 100 trades, it immediately goes against you and it stops you out. Now, you've traded both sides of it. It immediately goes and stops you out on each side. Okay. How is that possible? Explain that. What would your conclusion be at the end of all of that? And here is my conclusion. The thing that is consistent between trading against it and trading with the signal is that I'm in a position. So I would think that if you did both of those things after a long enough period of time, that you would have to conclude that the market is actually actively trading against you. That the signal isn't reliable. The 9 times out of 10 that it fails against you, that sounds like it actually is quite reliably bad. You know what I mean? And let's just say that like risk reward is equal. Okay. So like equal risk reward, 90% of the time it goes against you. You know what I mean? Look deeper into the microfractals. I'm just saying. Here is a setup that it seems to me that if you went through that testing and you did it like that and everything, and assuming that you actually did it over a large enough period of time, maybe to really truly prove it, you'd have to do it a couple of months, or like you do a 1 year one way and another, I don't know. But let's just say it's a significant enough period of time, I would think that at that point you would have to start to wonder if it's the act of you taking the trade that is making it fail. Millions of contracts trade hands per day, but you're convinced someone cares about yours. Okay, it's possible. How would you disprove that? Right? So that's when it's like, I think that the easiest way to disprove it would be to trade it for a long enough period of time and show that that's not what's actually happening. Right? That would be an easy way to disprove it. You see what I'm getting at? It's like, okay, so trade the signal for a little while. See what the stats are of after a while, and then you'll see, oh, it doesn't go against you 90% of the time. It only goes against you like 55% of the time, and sometimes you're actually in it for quite some time before it does something, right? You would also need to notice how much the market moves when you're not in a trade. Okay, so are you saying that if when I'm not in the trade, like the market almost never does anything, and when I am in a trade, the market almost always tends to move when against my position, that then that would be like maybe some evidence in favor of that the market is doing something because of you? No, I think that what happens is that the market, well, not that I think, but I think that the argument being in that one would be that the market tends to move randomly when you're not in a trade. Okay, so then I guess the split side of it is that you could watch the signal and, okay, let's put it this way. You watch the signal, but you don't trade it, okay? Nobody other than you knows which way the signal is actually going. The performance of it is positive, that it has a positive expectancy. Then you start trading it, and it has an extremely negative expectancy, right? Then what would the conclusion be? Something about me trading it makes it not work. And then you'd have to actually ask the question of like, how can that actually happen though? The thing that I'm kind of getting at here is that if we're just talking about a handle, I think that somebody with a 50 lot could totally screw you up if they wanted to in certain types of action. If it was slow like right now, and that's kind of why I'm questioning it, I'm asking myself like, okay, could I actually potentially, it's possible if it's that slow. I'm not convinced that that's actually what's happening. I think that it's an irrational thought, but I still go through it because then it's like, okay, well, here we can test it. Start taking random entries now. This is the next thing, is that then the thing is, okay, don't take a signal. Just start taking random entries and seeing what it does. But the funny thing is that when I think I'm taking random entries, then it really starts to like go against you every time. Well, they are rotating around seller's position. They haven't made it up to buyer's position yet. Over the years of trading, are you profitable or not? Could that answer your question? Over the 3 years that we've been doing it, I would say no. I've had some really good periods. I tell you, that's the thing that's really frustrating, is that it seems like that as soon as you got something and it's really working well for you, and that's exactly when it stops working. And so if you're a person in the position that I am, you kind of have to start to wonder, was it that other people watched the stream and saw it, and now there's too much volume trying to take advantage of it, and that's why it doesn't work anymore? Because we know that that happens. We know that the market will find edge and arbitrage edge out of the market. The question is, how big of an impact do you have to have on there until that would actually happen and screw up your strategy, you know? Did it actually stop working, or did you simply stop executing correctly? Well, let's think about some certain instances. At least you didn't have someone turn your strategy into a robot in front of you. Yeah, well, because so this is the good example here, was I had a strategy that was working okay, and I made like what, $700 on micro contracts doing it. Doing real good. And then Brexit came along, and I felt that at the time that I was correctly trading the strategy, although I did take a lot more entries during those bad days than I should have. But I thought that I was trading the strategy correctly. And it kind of stopped working. And then it went through a period where it seemed like it just didn't really work at all. And then we've had periods where it's kind of come back. So my conclusion off of that was that there's some edge in it, but it's pretty inconsistent. And I think that Ace knows more about it, how he trades it, than what he realizes, because he seems to act like he's just mechanically taking it. He says, at least you shouldn't have somebody turn a strategy into a robot in front of you. But I'm sitting here thinking, well, if I was Ace, because he trades it so mechanically, shouldn't the robot turning it into a robot be great? Like, oh, let me use the robot and then I don't have to do anything anymore. But clearly there are things that he can do that the robot can't do, and we're not able to quantify what it is. Right? That's what I think about that one. But so then the conclusion that I made was that there's some usefulness to it and that we should keep watching it, but that we need to go and find other edges that are more consistent for us or better suited for us, right? So then we did that. And well, we started doing pretty okay, I thought. And then there was the pandemic happened. So that one was like, okay, well, that's going to be an extremely unusual market, and we shouldn't be surprised if the way that you're trading falls apart when something that happens once a century happened, right? So then we started this other process. Yeah, that's exactly what Potts is talking about, right? So then we started this other process through the summer where we tried a bunch of different things. And usually what I was doing during those times was I would look at something for 2 weeks and just trade that one thing for 2 weeks and see how it goes. Right? You dismiss them because they won't backtest as well as you want. Yeah, well, either they didn't backtest as well as they wanted, or when I actually started trading it on Sim, they didn't perform as well as I wanted. Yeah, that's correct. So I kind of got into that. Well, I don't think that any of this stuff actually works. So then we started focusing on just the news. Yeah, I don't get that. I find them very effective for the manual entries I take. Well, you haven't. Well, you have shown me on times where you've traded them, but I think that the issue I had with those wasn't that there weren't periods where they worked, but that they were also inconsistent. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I can't have a blowout day if I'm trading something mechanical like that, you know? Anyways. So then we went and we started doing stuff where we used news and we kind of used some technicals to kind of help along with refining the entries. And what we kind of found with that one was that it worked really, really well for a time. Frankly, too well. During a period where I think that a lot of people were doing well in the market regardless. So I'm not sure if the success of that was really due to the strategy or not, right? But there was something to it. And then it was kind of like the entries themselves stopped being as efficient. And then we kind of came into this like, well, we got to wait until after the election. And now, since it's been after the election, I've had okay days. I mean, I don't think that my performance has been bad, but it's really not what I feel like it should be, you know? Is it the case that, like, it's not the best time for the strategy and we're kind of skidding along break even, and that's okay because the time period's going to come back when it does really well? I think that that's kind of the assumption that I have to make right now. Right? But I don't know, like when I look at a robot, I'm thinking, okay, if I backtest it, it should backtest better than 1.5, preferably over 2. Because the better I think that your what do we call it? Profit factor is, I feel the more likely that it's going to continue to work. I want something that has a pretty good win rate. Like, it's okay if it's less than 50% if I'm taking a larger target than risk, but lately the ones that we've been testing and have been working have been equal risk reward, and then you get a slightly positive win rate, and that's how we've been getting them. And I would want the number of, like, the losing streak to never have a really huge losing streak. So minimal drawdown, because to me, day trading is not, the objective here is not to maximize the amount of money that I make, because if that's what I was doing, I would just stick it all into an index fund. That's the best balance of profit and probability. But if I'm going to day trade it, then the big thing is going to be the drawdown. And I think that that's where we've had a hard time finding something that doesn't have a very bad drawdown. Now, that comes to the exits. Like, maybe these strategies are all entry signal and not enough exit signal, and so we don't actually have a good probability on it going to our target, and we don't actually have a good, like, oh, here's something that shouldn't happen and we need to get out of it now sort of a thing, right? I think that's what we've got to test. Or what we're going to try and do today, right? You're going to be available after this, John, if you're still there? I don't know. This one has kind of run pretty good a few times, but it's not, it's very range bound here. Bot says agreed, yeah. Anyways, every once in a while, though, the market will start to get into this thing where it's like, man, it really seems like it just hates me. And the thing that usually makes me feel like this is that I get in and then I'll immediately see volume come in against me. That's the one that freaks me out. And it's like, that'll happen from time to time, but when I feel like it's happening every time, then I start to wonder. Need to clear the driveway at noon. Well, we'll do it. We'll do it here in 10 minutes. I don't have any work stuff, so as soon as I get off the stream, I'll call you. And I'll look. Well, actually, I think I can look here before we shut down. Do I still have the one? I've discovered this thing where you can in the strategy analyzer. You got 6 inches of snow overnight. Wow. We've been getting snow in Utah, but it's been pretty dry, and anytime that it does snow, it's like almost immediately gone. So if you right click on your strategy analyzer, you can get this show log, and it will show you like every back test that you've done. So here are all of the ones that I did on the inventory spread. I think that I haven't selected which ones are supposed to be saved. But a couple of these are like 1.5, right? Reset it. Now there's this one. This one is interesting too. Oh, I forgot about that one. So the slip is looking for big moves on 1 second charts. And you can see it doesn't take trades very often, but when it does, and it works out really well. I think that the issue with this one is I don't think that you're going to get those prices. So I actually don't think that this one is profitable, but I don't know, probably worth trying. That one is probably worth actually trying because it doesn't take them off very often, right? So it should. I think the risk that you'd be taking with testing that one's probably not that bad. Interestingly enough, one of the better ones that I tested was the RSI strat, but I don't think that this one. Let's see if I can get it to load up. Yeah, that's right. The problem with this one, I don't even think I should be saving that one. That one is just entries are exits. And so it's holding on long enough, and that's where it's making its profit from, but that's not actually very good. Anyways, then we get to these inventory ones, right? Now these are only over 2 months, but those ones are pretty good. Okay, but the one that we wanted to look at was this one right here. I think. Oh, that's right. There was one that was like, did really well. I think that's the one that we need to test it a little bit more and see. Because I don't think that, yeah, that was only tested over a year. So then we'd come in and go like this. I don't know if, I right click. New strategy analyzer tab. Hopefully we don't start dropping frames and screwing up the stream here doing this. Some of these, like we did the ace one, the problem with the ace, this my robot ace, is that there are some pretty bad drawdowns in it. In fact, I think I had this set up to be like at one point. Well, let's see if I can fix it. The log, max drawdown, preset, save. Okay. There we go. So on that one, the drawdown was almost as much as what you actually netted. So that's not very... I have a thought for that TSI signal. So did you hear me talking earlier about how, like, I feel like we need like a private strategy discussion channel in Discord? What did you think about that? I don't want, like, the thing is I don't want it to become like an exclusive thing, but I also don't want it to be, oh yeah, okay. Well, I was just saying that, like, I feel like I can program just about anything, but that sometimes I'm just out of ideas. And bouncing ideas off of you, it really works, but I really feel like that we need to bring more people in. I feel like that if we had like a dozen or so people involved trying to develop an algorithm, that maybe we would have better luck get kind of generating what we want. How is that only... You know, when it came up there, I should have taken one off and then... Yeah, so, well, the way that I was originally had it is that if you become a elite subscriber on the YouTube channel, then you get access to the indicators, and there's a channel in Discord that it gives you access to. And so I was thinking, well, for certain people, we could just give them access because they've been useful. They tried that on Big Mike's with Battle of the Bots thread, and it didn't really work out. Why do you say that? Did they just not find anything good, or what? Oh, I never saw that thread. But that's kind of where it's like, I think that it has to be private. Yeah, I guess I'll go look it up. Did you read the thread about, oh man, what is the name of that? It was some trading educator got called out on there in the past week, and Big Mike sent out a kind of like a call to everybody because he had sent out a cease and desist letter to a person because that person happened to have the same name as somebody that was disparaging him on the forum, even though they were like different people. That was so, man, that thread was so wild. You know what? We might see more about that stuff in the future. I talked to somebody. I guess I really shouldn't go into it, but I talked to somebody that makes me think that public discussion about the scams and so forth going on out there in the markets is going to become more of a thing in the near future, but we'll see. Yeah, the vendor threatened the user with a lawsuit. That whole thing was crazy. And like I said, it was one of those things where it was like, you didn't even need to do all that stuff. Like, man. Like the thing that's so funny about a lot of the scammers, let's call them out there, is that it's really their own ego that ruins them, right? The vendor was clearly running a scam. Oh, totally. So it's like you have a live stream, and you're live streaming, and then people start to call into question how well you're doing with your live stream. Well, you see, because you've been running around and you've been telling everybody, oh, I know everything and I always win all of the time and this is great and everybody should trade the way that I trade, then you kind of have a problem. And they have to shut everything down. And then it's basically an admission that the whole thing was like a scam, right? But if you just never make those claims, if you're just streaming and you say, well, sometimes I do well and sometimes I don't, then it's not a problem. And it seems that people don't care. Like, I think that you guys all understand that sometimes I do well and sometimes I don't do well, and that I don't have it all figured out, right? And that's hopefully not why you're here. Right? You just don't set yourself up like that. Same with like an indicator. There's a lot of people selling indicators out there. Like Lizard is a great example of an indicator suite that I could recommend to people. It's only $150 and you get a lot of really good indicators that I have found useful, and I've actually been able to get to backtest more positively than anything that comes with NinjaTrader. And they're just like better. They're good. But does he go anywhere in there and say it went up? I think it's 150. I'm pretty sure it's 150. Let me go see. It's not straight 100. Oh, I can't see because I'm logged in. Log out. Used to be 100, and I think it's 150. One-time payment of only 150. That's correct. So I paid 150 for it. Does Lizard go on there and say, oh, all of these indicators are going to make you profitable beyond your wildest dreams? No, he doesn't say that. Big Mike's was only, I think I only paid $50 for Big Mike's. Maybe it was 100 that I paid for Big Mike's. That one was worth it too. But he doesn't come in and say, oh, all of these indicators together will make you rich beyond your wildest dreams. In fact, I think I would assume that Lizard has time periods where he does really well and time periods where he doesn't do really well. And that he thinks that the indicators are really good, but that they are not a holy grail. Which makes sense because the holy grail doesn't exist. Yeah, although I haven't been following what goes on there as much lately. I keep running into this issue where it's like people post stuff and I'm like, okay, you're full of shit. Like, it just can't. Why can't people just like back stuff up for once? Like, it should be the law, in my opinion, it should be the law that if you make a performance claim that you should have to provide proof. Like, that should be the law. And if you come onto the forum and you say, here's a strategy that I do and it worked really, really well, and you don't post your performance, it should be deleted immediately. And we get this all the time. People post stuff like that, and they post stuff that like we've backtested before, and like it's usually the things we've backtested before and that just straight out are negative, right? And like, oh, I'm making so much money with this. And it's like, I don't believe you. And I keep getting into trouble with that because nobody reacts well to that. And that's the other thing that drives me nuts, is that it's like the traders that I've met that I know for a fact have made money, and I'm not saying that they make money all the time or that they're making money right now, but that at one point in their lives they did pretty okay in the markets and that they have experience with being successful. They don't react like that. Their reaction is like, well, okay, you don't have to believe me. I'm more than willing to show you and go into it if you'd like, and we go into it. But then you get these people that I'm like, well, you're full of shit, and they're like, well, you don't know anything and you're stupid, and it's like attack against you, attack. I was like, yeah, you're definitely full of shit. And probably the reason why you're so uppity about it is because you're trying to sell something. That's another thing I should do. You know what? I will set all these things like I want to do this, and this, and then don't actually do them. But I'm going to do them. I need to write some more for our little guide. And maybe put it on Google so that you guys can help. Because it's big. It's going to be big. When I look at everything that I need to write in it, it's a lot of stuff. It's going to take a long time. Probably several years. I need to work on it more. Okay, 9:30. So I am going to shut down now. This trade is actually going okay. But like I said, I had 2 trades that went bad in the E-mini. I guess this one in the treasury, it worked out okay. So I actually came out positive in the treasury. Although the first trade, I don't know what the deal was with that. The first trade I took in the treasury, I lost 2 on, but that was a misclick. So that should have never entered into a position. So at that point, you screwed up the second trade in there. I don't know how my average ended up being in a position where I was able to just take a profit on it. But, oh no, you know what? I think I just misunderstood because it says that it was a buy. I guess that one was a winner, and I just thought I was short when I wasn't, and I confused myself. Well, anyways, getting out of it probably the right thing, because it didn't stay up there. So let's say that all worked out. So 0, and then we got this one and we've got 3 or 4 ticks off of it. So I think on the treasuries we can say that we made 4 ticks. In the E-mini, I took 1 that failed. Thank you. Oh, it immediately takes me out. That's good. I had 1 that failed, and I had a second one that failed. Neither of which gave me much favorable excursion. That's why I started to get suspicious. So then I screwed around for 2 trades. So we'll just discount those. And then we've had this one that we took on multiple contracts. So I always feel a little not right when I trade on 2 contracts and make my money back. I don't know if it was really justified to take 2 contracts on that trade, especially since it's been so retarded and range bound. But so I think at the end of that, let's just call our equity trades a scratch. Yeah. FOMC today. Oh, we get the minutes. You're right. And then it's Thanksgiving, but we got more stuff to talk about. So I'm going to skedaddle. I will see you guys on Monday. Hopefully I'm like really full. I'm not sure I'm a full capacity here today. What should we call today's video? I keep giving the videos like really terrible titles. It's like, do I not want people to watch them? No, I don't care. See you stick, see you live action. All right. And Ace, if you're still listening, you need to get on Discord. Okay. I'll see you guys Monday. In the meantime, stay profitable, friends.